the people that I was around, and you got to look at your circles. You got to look at your patterns, because a lot of times you may have to change your patterns. You may have to take that trip to Africa.
I'm more of like a non-confrontational type of person, and I just like hated it, and it forced me to grow.
My baby is my greatest blessing, but she's also the biggest change I've ever experienced in my life.
Old lady cleaning the bathroom, and we're just like, oh, we got a maid, you know, like, you're not my roommate. She was my roommate.
I do need for him to, you know, be able to control his emotions and control himself and not just want to pop
I
off.
need to know that you got me. If something goes down, I don't need you pushing me towards the danger.
I don't know if it was like a big lizard or a little iguana.
It's got me.
Real?
It ain't me. We're done because I'm passed out. Hey guys, welcome to the Melanated Opinion. I'm Takara.
I'm Shanita.
I'm Crystal. What up, peoples?
And today we have another special guest, and it is Mr. Tony Hall, who is also my brother and a mentor of mine. So, Tony.
Good to be here. Thank y'all for having me. I'm excited. Big fan of the show. Big fan.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for watching and thank you for coming.
Good to be here.
So I have a question for Shanita and Tony. So when you guys were children, or even now as adults, who's quickest to tell mom first?
Probably.
Go ahead.
You think you?
No, I wouldn't.
Or out of everybody?
No, out of you and Tony.
You mean like tell on them? Like
tell on them, tell somebody's business, tell what they heard. Anything.
I would say me. What you think, Tony?
Yeah, it would be you. I mean, you know, I don't think it would. I'll probably be the one just staying out of the way, because when I was younger, I was the one taking all the heat. So, you know, when I got older, that would have been, you know, Shanita, who would probably be the one that's saying, hey, this is what's going on, this is what's happening. And I'll be somewhere in the corner, you know, trying to preserve myself.
Yes, but I'm gonna tell you a funny story. Okay, so Tony is my oldest brother. So it's it's two siblings in between me and him, and then we have a younger sister. But my brothers actually always picked on me, and they love wrestling. And so my mama thought she was just this, the cameraman or whatever. So she has a lot of videos, and it's one video where they all making this wrestling. What was it, Undertaker or whatever? And then I'm running out the hall, and it's like they pulled the couch back. It was horrible. My mama used to show that video to everybody. They was always doing stuff to it.
Was it WWE?
What was the Undertaker on?
WWE, WWF at the time. But yeah, I was a big Undertaker was my favorite wrestler of all time. Still now.
Oh wow!
I mean, I got upset when he retired. So. But my brothers were, you know, there was another company, can't think of the company name, but WCW. So it was WCW and WWF, but, you know, I would watch WWF, which is WWE, and then they watch WCW. We love wrestling. We loved it, in fact, so much that, you know, back in the day, you know, they had the pay-per-views. Now you got streaming going on. But back in the day, there was pay-per-views, and we couldn't afford the pay-per-view. So we would actually watch, you know, how they have the channels that were freeze out, you know, back in the day. And every 3 seconds, you could see a picture.
Yep.
So we would watch pay-per-view like that the whole time.
Yes, they do what do.
You was gonna make sure that your sisters were not like prepared if they was dating a guy or something happened to him.
That's right. That's right. I was gonna raise up like the Undertaker.
That's right. Okay, so in all fairness, Tony, now you get to ask us a question.
Oh, wow. Okay. So I know lately you all have been talking a lot about the question of marriage. And so I thought it was interesting because everyone had their own take. So I kind of want to get a little bit more of that conversation started, at least for me, because I was questioning. I think Crystal said something about, and I'm paraphrasing, but about traveling. That may be a concern about if, maybe she was in one area or destination, how that may impact. And everybody had their own difference. I think Shanita talked about, maybe some finances. I think that was part of the question. So maybe each one of you kind of revisit that conversation. Has anything changed since the last time you talked about that, or have you reconsidered?
I say for me, I think mine was not clarified. So I don't, as of right now, I don't see myself getting married. I have no desire to get married. I also don't have a desire to be monogamous, which I don't think I said. I don't see myself being in 13 relationships. I see myself as just having connections with people and not being held down to a relationship, or, not wanting to do what my spirit says do at any moment and having to worry about, someone else's lifestyle and vice versa. Like, I want them to be able to be happy and do whatever they want to. So I'm more focused on connecting than like being with one person for the rest of my life.
And I think my take on it was that because I'm so used to taking care of myself at this point, and I know that I can do it myself. I don't necessarily want to have to, but I can. So the person coming into my life would need to really be adding a benefit, like beyond just keeping me, company. Like they're gonna have to add to the situation and not take from. And I also have a daughter, so that is like making sure it's the right person would always be my top priority.
And for me, yes, I'm still traditional. I still feel like the guy should do most of the bills, if not all, but most of the bills. And I mean, I just ultimately want someone that wants me just as bad as I want them. And unlike Crystal, I'm not sharing nobody. So you either gonna be with me or there's just gonna be it. But because even like dating, I find it hard to talk to different people at night. Like, I always want that just one person that is gonna tell me good night versus, you have to do a whole nother routine for everybody else. Like, I'm more so like a planner, and I like consistency.
Yeah.
So what about you? I know you have been married for how long?
Well, it'll be 10 years, September 29th.
Ooh.
Okay, coming up.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
So how did you know that she was the one? Did she want her name said?
I don't think she minds. I mean, we're married, so everybody who's seen us.
Well, so how did Christina knows that? Well, how did you know that Christina was the one?
I think for me, one of the things for me is I felt a complete sense of comfort around her immediately. I think, of course, me being a man, the first time I actually saw her, and just a little background on me, I'm a musician, and so the first time I met her was actually at a church event on the weekend. So, physically, I'm like, wow. The first time I said, wow, but just having conversations, we had conversations prior to us meeting. And just a little another background, we were long distance. I was in Mississippi, she was in Alabama. But our conversations were such that I felt that I didn't have to be anybody but myself. I thought previous conversations, it was more about, maybe that person or trying to please that person to some extent, that I was overextending and just over-sacrificing and not getting anything back in return. With her, it was just really comfortable. I think that's the first thing. I just felt like, wow, this is the first time I can be me. And I think that's the one thing for me, that when I felt that I was in position to be authentic, even with my own mistakes, and being able to say, I'm comfortable saying my bad. Let me get myself together. Let me figure this out and be okay with that. Because for men, they always talk about, we have, the male ego, and it is fragile. Our ego is fragile, and that's really, if you really take ego out of it, you can just replace it with confidence. We do struggle with confidence. And so as a result, when our confidence levels are down, we tend to get toxic, and we say that's masculine energy, but what it really is us just being toxic. We're out of gas. We're out of that confidence, and it manifests itself in other things. So, but that was the thing for me. I just felt really, that was the foundation. I felt like I could trust her. I've been in previous relationships where I didn't feel that. I was just kind of in the relationship, but I felt with her, I could trust her. It just felt like a serious I told her this, I said, this is the first time I really felt like I'm actually in an adult relationship.
Oh, wow. And how old were you at the time?
That was gonna be my question.
What was that?
How old were you at the time?
Oh, wow. So it's been 25 at the time. I'm an old head, so we've been totally together 16 years. And a lot of that was, again, keep in mind, it's long distance, and it's about 3 hours, I'll say 3.5 hours from the travel back and forth at the time in Mississippi. So I had to, you had to put that work in too. We're both working. We're both full-time. I'm working and I'm a musician. So there's that. And then having to deal with that, but still saying on the weekends, I got to get going. I got to get to Montgomery. Or, times when she would come, to Hattiesburg. So a lot of work, but well worth it. Well worth it.
So for me, I guess I want to know too, like when you met her, did you have the mindset of you was already looking for your wife, or once you met her, you realized, okay, this is the person I want to be with?
When I met her, I already had the mindset that I was looking for. I was already in mode of saying I wanted to be with someone for the rest of my life, but I was not going to settle for anyone that didn't have that same energy, as the young folks say. So, I mean, for me, it was just, I wanted someone who had that same goal, that same, thing that I wanted. I wanted the same thing, and I wanted to be in it. I didn't want to, I knew that going into it, I needed to take all the lessons from previous, and even the lessons I learned when I was with no one, when I was not in a relationship. And that's why I want to encourage you all. You guys you're in a position now. This is, if I would tell anybody thinking about it or considering getting married, like this moment, this season that you're in now, single, is the moment. This is the journey. This is the part of the journey where you
Been a long moment.
Yeah. And it is. It was a long moment for me. I felt that way. Valentine, Christmas. How many times, Shanita, I came home, I was by myself,
Right.
But this is the part where you learn so much about you. So don't take that part for granted. I know it gets tough and it gets rough. And to be honest about it, you have those moments like, do I need to bring my standards down? My standards too high? What am I looking for? For me, one thing I did say to myself, and I don't think it applies to everybody, it just applied to me. I figured out by that time in my 20s, getting into my mid 20s, I had realized all the places I've been and all in the pools of people and friends and that I've been in, or been around, none of them would have matched up to what I was looking for. So everybody I was around and friends or people that I was dating. It just wasn't, I said to myself, I said, my wife is not in Mississippi. My wife is not here. And I only said, I'm not saying that she could not have been in the state. I'm just saying the people that I was around, and you got to look at your circles. You got to look at your patterns, because a lot of times you may have to change your patterns. You may have to take that trip to Africa, or you may have to, if you go to the same gas station, getting the same gas at the same time, you might want to change that up just to see. You may have to just, change some stuff up.
So I have a question. Is marriage something that you and your now wife talked about like early on, or did that come with time?
That came with time. I think we never really talked about it until later on in the relationship. I think it was almost kind of understood, but the conversations were not there in the beginning. I think for us, it was just about, getting to know each other, enjoying that time, and just learning, and just I think for us, just enjoying the relationship. Now later on, it did get to, as a man, we kind of singular focused, so we ain't thinking about all the other stuff. Now for her, she may tell you she was thinking about it from day one.
Yeah.
But for me, I was doing the typical, I had some of the same thoughts. I'm like, no, I got to have X amount of money, or I got to have, I got to be at X amount of status career-wise, so that I think to your point, in one of your earlier episodes, we talked about the man does want to provide, protect. We want to do those things, but a lot of times the reason why we're not ready to get married is because we feel like we have to already complete that status before we get there.
So based on
go ahead.
Based on what you see now, like maybe with people or social media or society, do you feel like a lot of guys, they still have that mindset? Like you think that maybe the reason that they are single or who they're looking for is because of the whole protecting and providing type thing, and they don't feel like they're at that level? Is that something that you still see, or do you think that's kind of like older people or old school mentality?
I think I've seen it, younger guys, older guys. I know a lot of times, all of us, we all get caught up in, what generations are doing and the comparisons. But to be honest, I mean, I've seen it in, young people, middle-aged people, older people. At the end of the day, sometimes it's just fear. The fear of not, what happens if, I get, connect. Because a lot of guys are like, hey, I want to connect to the right one. Now there's some of us that will settle for things, whether it be, the physical needs and financial needs. I think some of y'all are talking about things where guys may just be in the house but not really taking care of the needs of what needs to happen, or just sitting around playing video games. I mean, we settle for some of those things sometimes, but I mean, all in all, I mean, I think it's a mix, and every guy is going to be different. It depends on what their status in life. Sometimes they're just, one thing someone told me is, growing up, one of the needs that a man thinks about is, can I be immortal? Meaning, like, going back to wrestling, we was talking about Hulk Hogan, and he was like the immortal one. They used to call him the immortal Hulk Hogan. And what that means is they're looking for, if a guy hadn't found that right one, well, they may decide to say, well, you're enough for me. And I'm not saying this is all guys, but some of them, they may say, you're enough for me that I can have a child with. That you're safe enough for me, that I respect you enough, and I want to, that's their way of being immortal. Well, we know we're not going to be here on this planet forever, but that's our way to say we're going to leave something, a legacy behind, even if we don't meet marital status. At least we can be immortal.
But why do you feel that guys would it's several guys that are ready to have a child, but they're not ready for marriage.
Yeah.
So if they want to leave that legacy and things behind, how is it that why do they feel that having a child, you will have less responsibilities than being married? I don't know if I'm saying that right. Do y'all understand what I mean?
You would, wouldn't you?
No, like, it's been, I know it's been guys that have told me like they would, they want a child, but then when it comes to the conversation of marriage, they don't want to get married.
Well, taking care of a kid and taking care of a wife and a kid, two different things, seems like.
Yeah, but I guess I would think that, I guess I thought guys kind of thought like us, like, you want to get married.
Yeah, no, I don't think guys think that.
No.
But I mean, to go with what Shanita's saying, I've heard guys say that before, what you said, Tony. I think I don't understand it, and maybe it's just being a female. Like, what is I don't understand the importance of like leaving a legacy. What does that do for a person? Like, I guess I don't get what they are thinking or how they're feeling like, oh, I left something behind here even after I'm gone. Like, I think I don't really see that part.
Sometimes it's not that well thought out. I think for them, I think for some guys, it's like, seriously, it's just simply, well, I'm not getting married. It's like going to say, well, I'm not going to get married, so I'm not going to be able to I'm not committed to providing and protecting for my wife. So maybe I can have a child and and again, we know that there's a lot of men out there who have children that's not doing what they need to do. And shout out to Cara and I think it's Deontay, right? Love
you
that
really do
episode.
be watching. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan. But shout out to him and you guys for showing the world the importance of co-parenting and making sure that works. Like, whatever the status of the relationship is, the one thing for sure is that you guys are committed together to ensuring that your daughter is taken care of. And I'm
Absolutely.
sure that makes a huge lasting impression. But guys, you got to look at it. There's some psychological things there too. You got to think about how many guys, how many men growing up may not have had a father or a father figure. And when I say father, I'm talking about someone really impacting their life in a way to position them to say, okay, you can make that decision if you want to, but here are the consequences. Because a lot of times for us, we're the first one. Our mistake, we didn't get that conversation before we make that mistake. We tend to make the mistake and then learn from it.
Mm-hmm.
Don't learn or continue to repeat the same mistake. So a lot of it is just having somebody in our corner to at least give us a chance to say, maybe I need to get myself together.
But you do realize that it's the guys now, they don't have that same mindset that you did. Like, you apparently had the mindset of probably the grandpas now, because when you was younger at 25, if this is how you was thinking, we don't get that now. It's like guys feel like because they have so many options, they don't have to get married. If you ain't doing what they want you to do, then they can go on. But Crystal, I know for you saying I guess what made you come to that conclusion that, not to be with someone?
For me, it's more about like forcing someone to do something for the rest of their life. Now we're monogamous. You can't come home at 6 o'clock if you want to. You can't go on a month-long vacation with the boys if you want to. Like, I can't stop cooking for you if I want to. I can't do none of that now. We're married. Like, we have all these expectations, and if you break one of them, it's gonna be problems. But for me, it's like, let's do what we want to do, and if we when and if we choose to be in each other's lives, let's do that and make it, easier for both of us, and not make sure that you have to stay in a boundary that I created and you can't mess up.
So really, that's like your thing, is that you want wanted to be without boundaries so that no one feels like their hand is being held to the fire in order to keep other people happy, the other person happy.
And it's to me, it's confining your spirit. Like, don't confine yourself for anyone, even for a partner. If y'all choose to be together and not want to be with anyone else, you can do that. Just don't confine the other person or don't confine yourself. That's kind of how I feel.
Person who is kind of like Tony and Christina, they're literally like best friends too. So what if you find that person that was like your best friend besides Takara? Sorry, but just he wasn't trying to confine you. He wasn't trying to put you in a bubble. He just like, hey, whatever makes you happy makes me happy, and vice versa. Like y'all just click. And he marry him, would you say yeah?
I don't think the person you're talking about wouldn't ask me to marry him. But I do think it's a chance that we would just be together forever and it may never be anybody else. And we just may end up being okay with that.
And see, I never understood that either. And Tony, maybe you can, answer this too. Like, for me, I never understood the difference between being with somebody for years when y'all just talking to each other, you're living together, all of that, but then you don't get married. Like, to me, that's marriage.
It isn't, because you can leave at any time and there are no papers like you're just gone. We don't have to untie the house. You may, but you may likely don't. You know what I mean? In my mind, that's the difference. But you asked Tony, so I don't know.
No, that's it. You remember the prepaid cell phones. You remember the benefit. My first cell phone was a prepaid phone.
Right.
And I love that prepaid phone. And I wasn't in position, let me say it that way. I wasn't in position to get the contract. So even when I became in position to say, well, now I can get a phone that's on contract, AT&T, whoever the carrier is, then I gotta know that now I'm committed to this contract. In the day they say, okay, you got 1 year, 2 years, now you committed.
Because there's some consequences and repercussions if you don't.
There it is.
Yeah. Let me tell y'all, like, he said exactly how I feel. Like, I don't do contracts for like my light bill company. Don't give me the 2-year agreement. My phone is actually a prepaid phone, but I pay it like it's a regular phone, but give me the $100 phone so I don't have to be responsible for no monthly payment. I need something where I can cut if I need to go. That's, you said it exactly.
That is so crazy, because my ex, he had that type of phone too. Like, you go buy the card from Walmart and reload it each month. That is crazy.
Yeah, well, I don't reload mine. I just pay the bill every month. But yes.
But he has to I would have never put that. So that was showing the sign there. He didn't.
I think I went like an entire year with that same phone, because the phone I had, you can get it all the way down to about 20 cents. And the first minute on the phone is free.
20 cents.
Yeah, it is going down. This is like old school. I think it finally turned into like T-Mobile, I think, but I can't remember the name of the company. But you can get it down, you can pay and get your minutes, but it was by minute, it was a certain fee per minute. And the first incoming minute was free. So I knew that I had about 50 seconds when I had about 50 seconds to say, hey, what's going on? Everything good? All right.
What?
Call you back. Yeah. I could have a conversation with, for about 10 minutes like that. We go through, hang up, call me back.
Oh my God, it's off topic, but you know what it reminds me of that phone that was outside of Marshall Hall, where you could call and it would let you talk for so long.
Yes, yes.
That's funny.
Yes.
No, this was Davis. It was one prepaid.
Oh, what's the Davis? It was one of the two.
All of them.
Oh, the minute phone. Is that what we called it? The minute phone?
The 30-second phone.
The 30-second. Oh my goodness.
But
Shanita, did they have that when you were there?
Yeah, like as soon as you get off the elevator, it was a phone that people could use.
Yeah.
And I could even call like long distance.
Yeah, because the girl, I didn't know until after the fact, but she actually was pregnant and she was a flag girl. And so she was exercising and doing everything. She waited till she got to college. We had just moved in, and I remember I was going to look for her. When I get out the elevator, I could tell she had been crying, but I didn't know what it was. She didn't tell nobody until late. Literally, she ended up calling the ambulance because she gave birth. Like, she left a game and she went into labor, and she said that night, she said she was telling her mama that she was pregnant, but she was scared to tell her while she was at home, but she was on that phone.
On the 30-second phone telling her mom she was pregnant?
That's what I'm saying. Whatever this phone was, it was like a prepaid. It was like a little cubby or whatever, where as soon as you get off the elevator, she was on it. Now, I don't know if she...
It was free though, right?
Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, because I used to call my mom and she would be so annoyed. Like, girl, if you don't stop calling me from that phone. Because it would hang up in her face, like, and I'd call right back.
See, I never used it. I got my first cell phone when I came to Hattiesburg Crystal. Do you remember that? Because I got it was T-Mobile, and it was actually supposed to be my name, like somewhat of my name. It said my last 4 digits was DN, but yeah, that was it. I thought it was good. But continue on.
So I guess I have a question for you, Shanita. So what is it about marriage that you like? What is it that makes it so that you need the actual contract?